Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're welcoming back Travis Hancock from Facade Games. Travis and his wife Holly have published 6 extremely successful games and are back with their newest edition, Hollywood 1947, which is currently on Kickstarter. Travis, welcome back to the binge. How you doing?
Thank you. Good to be back.
Oh, it's great to have you. Now, as we were just saying off air, I always like to go back when I have people return and I look at earlier episodes. Episode 6.
Yeah.
Like you were there at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so it's so cool to have you back now, episode 221. For those who don't know you, Travis, in Facade Games, maybe you can give us just a quick kind of overview of yourself and your wife, Holly, and kind of what you guys do with this company and kind of how it kind of came together.
Sure. Yeah. First of all, I mean, congrats, episode 200 something, like to be there at 6 and now 200 plus. That's cool.
It's been a journey.
Yeah. But yeah, so we started our company in 2015. We were just kind of graduating college. I had started my first job. And I'd been working on this kind of side gig, this side project, which was Salem, our first game, for a couple of years. And kind of at the time, I was just throwing different stuff at the wall, seeing what would stick. I really wanted to do my own thing at some point. I knew, but I didn't know what it was going to be. But we launched that on Kickstarter, and it just took off, did way better than we thought it would. And so I quit my job. Holly quit her job a couple years later, and we just started making more games, and we've had a really good community to let us keep doing that. So Holly's she was a teacher, elementary school teacher, but she'd kind of always dabbled in design, and so she handles our graphic design and is just really good at it.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so 6 games in, and we're having fun.
So Bristol, I think, was probably the biggest one. Was it of all those, or?
Yeah, each Kickstarter's gotten bigger so far.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that one was close to. Well, I think probably after Kickstarter's done with like late pledge and so forth. I'm sure you guys crossed $1 million on that one, right?
Yeah, we did.
Wow, That's amazing. And how do you guys, like, I'm always interested. So when you see couples working together on games, how do you find that interaction? Do you guys compartmentalize and say, okay, you're going to do this, I'm going to do that? Is it more collaborative than that? Like, how do you, like, couples, in general are not always the best to work together on anything, right? But when you're trying to create something from scratch, how do you guys manage that?
Oh man, yeah, it's definitely been a process learning. There have been some tense moments.
Yeah.
But there have been some really good moments too. Like, sometimes when a deadline's coming up and we're both stressed, like it can get hard, but when we've kind of at the tail end of it and we've created something and it's successful and people are playing it and enjoying it, it's fun. Like it's fun to experience that together. And yeah, we've tried to compartmentalize the tasks. I'm trying to do better at just saying like, okay, you have the design, like whatever it is, and I just need to shut up more.
Yeah.
So we're trying to stick to our realms. And another thing we do is when we're not working, we try to not talk about work at all. Like keep it from 8 to 5 or whatever,
Yeah.
And then afterwards, just like, don't talk about it. So,
yeah,
or at least ask permission, say like, hey, like I have this thing I'm thinking about this game. Can we talk about it real quick? And sometimes she'll be like, no, tomorrow.
That's interesting. Cause when you, like most of the people I talk to in this industry are thinking about the games all the time, right? You're laying in bed at night and your eyes are closed. You're thinking about the game or you're thinking about the next thing I can work on.
I definitely am, which is why I have to ask her permission to bring it up.
Yeah.
Otherwise I would just talk about it all the time. So
yeah. And you got to have a life kind of outside of that. Like it's one thing when it's a side hustle, right? So when you have a day job and then, and I see this a lot of publishers I talk to or a lot of designers where they have their day job and the board game design is a side hustle and it's an escape from the day-to-day for them, right? They're doing that to try to clear their mind of the day-to-day. Mm-hmm. And then the few of you that I've talked to that are doing it full time, where it's become now that is the job. you're almost looking at it from a different perspective, right? And then you
Yeah.
do have to put yourself in these positions of, okay, this is now our job, and you now need to have like an escape from that, right? I need to
Oh yeah,
have a separation or you go crazy, right? So
for sure. And in some ways, this has like taken away my hobby of board gaming because
yeah,
anytime we play games, like we have to be testing our games because we need to test them out so much that like
yeah,
anytime we get a group together, it's like we gotta play the new game. And so I really don't play that many other games outside of ours just because there's not the time for it. But I mean I love playing our games. And it kind of goes with our past games too. It's like
yeah.
sometimes, months will go by and I haven't played Tortuga or Deadwood or Bristol. Like I'm just like I just want to play those games again and get back in there. But it's always just like moving on to the next thing. Like even with Hollywood, like we're kind of in testing mode for the next game for Volume 6 right now, and so you kind of got to refresh yourself and be like, okay, like get back in Hollywood mode and for the Kickstarter and all that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's challenging, right? When you're having to layer, because obviously, again, this is the company, this is the business, so the business has to keep, generating revenue, and the innovation pipeline has to keep coming. Any given
yep,
time, I got one game that you're fulfilling. You got another one that's probably on Kickstarter. You've got another one that is in final development stages. And you've
yep.
probably got at least one that's in ideation phase where you're starting to prototype it
Oh
and
yeah,
work it out. Especially if you're not signing
yep,
other people's games, but you're actually doing your own games, which I believe you guys do.
right.
That's four very different tasks that you're having to do simultaneously, right? And
It is, yeah.
how do you manage that? Like, how do you compartmentalize that?
I just try to have good to-do lists, kind of a good organization
Yeah,
system where, I sit down like, okay, right now I'm in, Bristol mode and thinking about how we're marketing that right now. And then I switch over like, okay, now we're in Hollywood mode. And then I do that for a while. And then I switch, okay, now we're in Parkade mode, which I'll talk about later. But
yeah.
um yeah, so just kind of staying organized, I guess. It's a big part of it.
Do you ever find that you have, because you're saying like you're playing, every time you're playing games, you're playing your games so that you have even more playtesting going on. Do you ever find with some of your gaming groups that you're playing with where they're like, "Hey, do you mind if we play Ticket to Ride tonight?" Like, do you ever run into that or?
Um I guess more with my family
Yeah,
than anything. I have a lot of family that lives locally, and they all come in for the holidays. And pretty much anytime we're together, I'm like, "Hey, do you guys want to play Hollywood, or you
yeah.
want to play Bristol, or because we just had to test stuff out." And usually they're like, "Oh yeah, like let's do it." But sometimes they're like, "Well, like we've played that 10 times this week. Can we do something else?" But no, they're the best. I have um I'm actually one of nine siblings,
Wow.
and and they all just love to game. So that's kind of what we do when we're together. We just play board games. So
They
it's a
all
lot of
live
fun.
fairly close to you too, your siblings, or?
A couple of them. I'm trying to get more of them to move back this way.
And now you guys have three kids now, right? So,
We do, yeah.
and congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Thank
How
you.
has that impacted your strategic direction as a company? Because you guys are very specific to a genre that you're working on right now, right?
Hmm.
And there's that natural kind of inclination, I think, as as you have a family and as the kids start to grow, and you start to get more involved in their interests. Has there been any thought to start saying, okay, maybe we start working on some titles that are more family focused and things like that at all? Or
Yeah, I keep waiting for that to happen to me when one day I'm like, oh, I gotta make a kids game, but it just hasn't happened. I keep thinking it will, but I really haven't felt that pull.
yeah,
Maybe it'll happen. Like they're starting to play more and more games with us, but I'm kind of just waiting for them to get like just a little older so that they can start
yeah.
start playing our games and I can teach them how to lie and backstab effectively.
Well, all your games have this kind of this book theme too, right? They fit on a shelf that
Mhm.
looks like these like encyclopedias, I guess, on an old bookshelf is the design of your games. Maybe if you get into the kids genre at some point, you can have children's books. Could be the shelf
Oh
below, right? Maybe
yeah,
that's
oh
the
yeah,
direction you guys go.
I like that.
So this new title, Hollywood 1947. Where did you guys come up with the idea for this, and where did that come from?
Yeah, so I actually think it was a comment during our Bristol Kickstarter. Someone just wrote like, "Hey, like," because people are always throwing out city and years because all our dark cities are based on a city and a year for
Yeah.
mystery. And someone wrote that one down, like, what about McCarthyism, Red Scare, and classic Hollywood? And I just like stopped and like, oh, like that's it, like that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were already developing the rules for what would become Hollywood, but at the time it was like a mob game, like Chicago type of thing, and I really liked how it was going. Um, but there was like one mechanic that like wasn't quite working thematically, and I'm just like, I just don't know. And then they brought that up, and I just started thinking about how we could reconfigure the game, and it's like, no, this will work perfectly. Um, and I'm a huge movie guy. I minored in film in college, and then
Mm.
I'm actually on a quest to watch every Oscar nominated picture or for Best Picture. So there were like 5 to 10 per year since 1929.
Yeah.
So there's about 500 I need to watch. So I'm maybe like halfway through or something. But that's a lot of old movies in the 30s and 40s, and so I'm just kind of in that zone of thinking about that stuff, and so it was kind of a natural fit with one of my hobbies, anyways, is those old movies, and it's just really kind of clicked that way.
Is
So
this something you guys will typically do? Have almost like a placeholder kind of theme on a title that you're working on, and then afterwards say, okay, once we kind of work it out mechanically, now let's pick our city and year kind of thematic to kind of wrap on it. Is that generally the approach, or?
um, they all go different ways. So let's see. I'll just kind of go down the lines. Salem was just a generic like thing called city, but we decided on adding the Salem witch trials. Tortuga, we always knew we wanted a pirate thing, so that started pirate and ended pirate. Deadwood was the same. Um, we knew we wanted a cowboy one. That one, the mechanics were all over the place. Like it took so many forms that it always stayed pirate or western.
Mm-hmm.
Then with Bristol, it actually started as a Rome themed, like a chariot racing type of thing, and then
Yeah.
it became a gladiator thing, and eventually we knew we wanted to do a Black Plague game eventually, and we thought it would be further down the line, but again, it just kind of fit better with the mechanics that were going. It just wasn't quite working as the chariot racing game. Like we couldn't quite figure out like, okay, are people on the chariot? Do they own the chariots? Why are they sponsoring the chariots? And then we finally got people in the carts, and we're like, no, like this is a play game. They're trying to get out of the city. So there's that, and then I think the Chicago thing, we've always kind of resisted doing a mob type of game just because I feel like there are a lot of them. It's kind
Yeah.
of a natural place to go for a social deduction. So I wasn't like super excited about it, but
And not all
so
of them do well either, right? Like there's a
yeah,
lot, but there's not a lot
right,
of successful ones.
right.
Right.
So I was excited that the Hollywood theme kind of fit better, and so I don't know that we'll do a Chicago game down the road, but who knows?
No, it's crazy. I'm looking at your page right now, showing for people who are watching on the replay or live. First of all, congratulations. I'm going to put this in Canadian dollars. That's the only way I can see it. It's always bigger anyways. You're sitting currently after like, I think a day and a half, $447,000 on a goal of roughly 40,500. So 10 times your goal. 5,165 backers. That is incredible for 2 days in. So congrats on that right out of the gate. Certainly, I think what you're seeing here is building upon success, right? Each title, you learn more, you build your audience, you're sticking within your brand, which then allows you to carry a lot of that audience over from game to game.
Right.
Can you walk us through? And first of all, also let me throw it there. I think the artwork looks awesome. Was it Sarah
Thank
Keel
you.
do this one as well?
Yes, she did most of the illustrations for the posters and the characters.
Oh, it's
And
crazy.
then we also worked with Ryan Goldsberry. He works with Tim Fowers games. But if you look at those games, it's kind of this cool retro style that we really liked. So he did the illustration on a couple of them, the comedy and the animation, and then he did a lot of the initial graphic design, kind of put it all together, and then Holly jumped on board and kind of brought it all together. So
Yeah, oh,
yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, shout out to Sarah Keel. I'm a big fan of her work,
oh yeah,
and I know she's worked on a lot of your games. So So kudos to her and
Yeah, she's
family.
awesome.
Also, just before I get into the game itself, I want to talk a little bit about the video as well. I was watching the video, which it didn't seem like there's a lot of animation in there. I don't, if any, that I could tell. Like a lot of it seemed like it was shot practically. Is that the
Yeah,
case or?
it was. Yeah. Yeah, we had a prototype of everything on hand. We worked with a company called the Ballast Brothers this time. They do a great job. So yeah, it was all practically shot. I mean, with physical cards and books and all that. So
That is awesome,
yeah,
and I always like to point this out when I see this in a game that is successful. Clearly, your game's successful, and it's. I mean, by the time this campaign closes, it's going to be again another huge, huge title for you guys, which is awesome. But I think what it does is it proves to people out there that you don't necessarily need to go and spend thousands of dollars on all this fancy slick animation. And I think sometimes people will do that when you actually have the actual game. Like,
yeah,
you could go animate it, but I have the physical game. Why don't I just film the actual game so people can see the actual components they're going to get? And for me, I do that a lot in campaigns I've run. And I'm seeing this along the way too, is that it's not a hard and fast rule that you have to go and do some fancy animated video in order to have a successful campaign. And so I always point that out when I see someone like yourself that has success doing it practically, that is proof, right, to those out there that it can be done.
right. Yeah, and we've actually from the beginning they've always been, the prototype on film. I don't think we've ever really done an animated video for the main video.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said for backers seeing, the real thing, like seeing the physical stuff, like, oh, like this exists. I think it maybe gives them confidence, like, okay, like these guys have made this, they know how to make this, it looks cool, like in person.
Yeah. It's
So
real.
I think it, yeah. So I think it helps, and I think I have a lot of fun writing kind of the script of the
Yeah.
the main promo video, and just like, how can I tell the story of this game and like bring people in. So for this one, we tried to make it a cool, like kind of like a commercial almost, like, in between, like before the film starts in the 1940s,
Yeah.
like a little newsreel type of thing, and just thought that would be fun. So
No, I love it. And again, I'm showing on the screen here. There's like a GIF where there's a hand just opening up the book which is simply just demonstrating how this it's a book, but then when you open up, that all the game components are in there. But again, that GIF is shot practically, and I'm sure for those out there who wanted to create GIFs or wondering how, literally just Google, online GIF creation from video, and you will come across tons of sites that will show you how to just upload a clip of a video that you've taken on your phone and turn it into a GIF. Right. Yep. So there's things that you can do yourself that don't cost any money, quite frankly. And most people have camera phones. It just takes time, right? Time and planning. But a lot of this stuff you can kind of carve out yourself. So I want to give you guys props on that. I thought that was really awesome.
thanks.
Can you walk us through kind of the essence of how to play this game and kind of the gist of it?
Yeah, so it's very, very simple. I think probably after Salem, it's our simplest game, which I really like. Basically, everyone has a different job in the movie studio. So you might be the screenwriter or the director or the producer or the actress or cinematographer, and everyone also has a die that has either a blank or a star. So on your turn, you can either do your job, or you can roll dice. You can roll two dice. Um, at the end of the round, once everyone's had a turn, people who have a star shown on their dice, they get to add a card from their hand into the movie. And everyone has a hand of three cards. So in your hand, you have propaganda cards, we call them, with either communist symbols or patriot symbols or neutral. And so there's kind of that layer of hand management. Like, you might be a patriot trying to slip in patriot symbols, but your hand is full of communist cards. So that's kind of where you rely on each other, because only certain jobs can do certain things. So, for example, the gaffer job, they're kind of the specialty dice roller. They're good at rolling dice and getting people in or out of the movie. Or like the actress or actor, their kind of specialty is to get people better hands of cards. So they can let you draw two cards and kind of optimize your hand. Or there's like an editor job who, once all the cards are in, they get to look at one and either keep it in the movie or cut it. The screenwriter, they kind of set the tone. They choose which movie is going to be made, and certain movies kind of help the patriots more or the communists more. So so a lot going on, but it's very simple. Again, on your turn, you do your specialty job to help your team in whatever way you think is best, or you roll the dice to kind of influence if you get in the movie, or if you want someone out of the movie if you don't trust them. But ultimately, there's the two main teams, the Patriots and the Communists, and they're trying to win 4 movies for their team basically by getting the most symbols in each movie. And then there's also a rising star character playing the middle, kind of working for both teams. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of social deduction there, I think, right? And so is it kind of remind me a little bit of Secret Hitler from a mechanic standpoint, like when you're placing the bills right in front of Congress, and sometimes you draw 3 bills and you decide, okay, which 2 am I going to hand over to the chancellor to then decide. And you may not have a choice because you may have drawn 3 fascist bills, and you have to hand them 2, and you're not a fascist, but that's all you had. So everyone looks at you like you're a fascist, right? So is it kind of similar there too, where you may not know what you may be forced to play the other hand?
Yeah, there are definitely some elements of that, and some good bluffing. Because if you're a communist, you might have patriot cards in your hands, but you could be like guys, sorry, like I only have communist cards. I have to play this.
That's what a communist would say.
Yeah. Or if you're the screenwriter, and you draw 2 posters, one might have a double patriot symbol on it. One might have, a communist, and you're like, I got 2 communist cards. I have to play this one. So yeah, so there's definitely some elements of that. I think there's some ties into the resistance too, where you're like kind of choosing who plays, like who goes on the mission type of thing. And then, we encourage communication. So we encourage people to, talk about what they put in the middle, to be like, I played a patriot card, but then, you see what's been played. And so you can kind of use logic to try to figure it out.
You could lie, right? Like just lie through your teeth, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And with all our games, we always try to give people an excuse out. Like, so for this one, for example, there's always a card coming from the deck, and there's always a card leaving the cards that were played. So you can always say like, oh, like I played a double patriot card, but it must have got taken out. Or or if one comes from the deck, you can try to claim that card, like, oh, I played that good card. So there's lots of tricky ways to kind of convince people.
What's the max player count on this game?
It goes up to 9.
Oh, that is up my alley. I love it. When last time we talked, again, I'm gonna go back to episode 6, pre-COVID, right? Now here we are post-COVID. How has that impacted you as a company?
Well, I mean, the COVID years were expensive for like shipping stuff. Like, just the whole supply chain everything was just slow, and shipping was more expensive. But, a lot of people, stayed home and played games. And so I think for us, it kind of evened out. Like, I think our sales were good, but costs were higher. So yeah, we came out okay, and I think we're doing good.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of companies that kind of got caught, right? They had like a campaign that just concluded, so they collected their funds. Then shipping crisis occurred, which jacked everything up like 10 times in some cases. And they're either caught with eating it or having to go back to the well and ask for more money. Did you luck out? Did you have any campaigns that fell in that kind of Goldilocks zone at all?
Well,
or no?
I mean, if you recall, so yeah, we launched, Bristol 1350, which is about the Black Plague, right during the whole COVID plague.
Yeah.
So there's some interesting ties there, but we gave ourselves a lot of enough time for the deadline. Like, we told people, like, we're not going to deliver this for like a year and a half or something. Usually we just give ourselves like 9 months. We're fine. But we gave ourselves a lot of leeway, and we hit our deadline, but barely, I think, because we'd given ourselves that extra time. So it's fine. We definitely did pay more than we were expecting for some of the shipping costs, but it worked out. It was a big campaign, and we're fine. But
and how do you guys market? Are you guys using any kind of social media amplification companies at all? Do you guys do your own Facebook ads? Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, we've done a few different things. For this campaign, we're working with BackerKit Marketing to do some of these ads
Hmm.
to start with. Um, we worked with a company called Green Inbox in the past, and then Jellup's always on our radar
Sure.
as well. So we do that. We do some advertising through Board Game Geek. Um, I always try to be active on Reddit. Um, yeah, those are kind of the main ones. Then just other little things here.
It must be a cool feeling having this audience now that you've been cultivating for 6, 7 years, right? That you can now like here's another game in the same genre, right? I'm sure you must get weekly people reaching out to you saying, "Oh, I was there at the beginning, man, and now I've got every title, and this is another one. I'm so excited." Like, you must be getting that, are you?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it's so I love the comments that come in of people saying like, "Yeah, I was there for Salem day one."
Yeah.
I'm always just so grateful for those original Salem backers, especially. I always give them a virtual hug. But but
Well,
yeah, I mean it's great. We have a lot of people who just say like, the whole insta back mentality. It's like, whatever you put out, we'll back it.
yeah.
It's just really great. It's been a great community and I'm grateful
Will there
for.
ever be a re? Because I mean, I can see that people can get as add-ons the prior games as well, and eventually you'll run out of inventory of the different games. Is there any point in the future where you see putting together some kind of master box set that literally is all the games all in kind of one
Yeah.
case, or
Yeah, I'll go ahead and tell you my master plan because I like to talk about it.
yeah.
So, so this is our fifth Dark Cities game. I've always thought I like the number 12. I think we would make up to 12 of these, and then just focus on, you know, amping up the deluxe versions, maybe making bigger boxes, making expansions, but just really kind of settling and focusing on that world. So we got those 12. Then we also have kind of our line of party games. So Trophies is one that's been pretty successful. That was our first one.
Hmm.
Then we have another one coming out next year. So I want to do 7 of those. That's 12 plus 7, and that's 19. So I got to do one more to make it a nice even 20. But for that last one, we're starting to dabble into like a really light RPG type of thing to get casual people playing
Hmm.
kind of that really imaginative stuff. And I want that to be like a really big game, like a big box, a
Yeah.
lot of stuff. So we've never really done that, but I want that to be a lot of fun. So that's the plan. Those 20 games.
Oh, that's cool. And so, how
One
many
of the
years do you have that mapped out over?
it's about a game a year. So let's see, we've done 6, so another
So it's a decade worth of
14,
games.
15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll see if our kids are old enough then to do the next generation
I'll
of
just hand
games.
it off and go into
Decide.
retirement.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see.
So what
We'll
comes
see if
after?
they even.
What comes after this one? Like, what's the next iteration after Hollywood 1947? I'm sure you guys, as you said, I think you said Parkades. Is that the name you kind of slipped, or what was
Yeah,
it?
well, so next year, we're gonna do one of our party games.
Okay.
It's called Parkade. It's kind of sitting there behind me. It's like a parking garage. You're trying to park your car. Um, it's like a word matching game. So, like, if the parking spot says princess and you have a car that says castle or something, then you try to convince the judge, like, hey, these go together, and they're like, okay, yeah, that parks. And so it's just this mad scramble to park all your cars.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really fun, really, really simple. You can learn it in 5 seconds. So we're doing that, and that'll be kind of next January, February, maybe on Kickstarter. Maybe we'll just release it. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
But then the year after that, so 2 years from now, we'll launch Volume 6 in this series. Um, I don't, I, I'm not really revealing the too much about it yet, but we've been playing it a lot, and it might be my favorite of our games so far to play. Oh man, it's it's a non-apologetic elimination game. Like you are eliminating people and they are out.
Yeah.
And I so much of our games are like, no, like we don't want to do player elimination. We want to keep people in. We want to play. But this one, I'm like, no, like this one is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt your feelings. You're gonna get out, but then you're gonna want to play again.
Yeah.
And that's what it does. Like we've made it go. It's a pretty quick game.
Yeah.
Like it goes fast. So you get your feelings hurt, but then you jump back in and play again. It's just like, it makes my mouth water just talking about it. It's gonna be fun.
I'm a fan of, if there's a take that game, as long as you're all in on the take that. I'm not a fan of genres where there's a little bit of take that, like either go Euro or you know what I mean. Our first game was like that. It's 100%. You are attacking somebody and you're attacking somebody on the first turn. Like you're gunning for people, literally. And I like those kind of take that games where, again, it's unapologetic, as you're saying. You're going to get them out, and the person knows, they know what they're getting into, right? So it's not like it kind of sneaks up on them. And I think that's half the fun of those, right? Because you know that I'm going to get them before they get me. And that almost takes me back to that classic kind of like 70s, 80s style games, like the Risks and stuff like that, which were, again, someone's attacking someone, we're backstabbing, and we all know what we're getting into, right? And that's where the fun and laughter comes from.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. And we're trying to add enough like meat to it too, that if you get out, we want you to deserve it. Like like you made a critical error on your turn and you deserve to be gone. So we're trying to make sure, like, the best player of the round wins each round. So it's not too much like, I want you dead, now you're dead. There's definitely some of that, but yeah, anyways, I'm really excited about it.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Fun. Yeah, the passion clearly comes through in all the work you guys do. And this campaign, I gotta wish you all the best on this campaign. You guys are crushing it already. I'm sure this is probably going to surpass Bristol, or if not, it's going to be very, very close. So I know you guys will be happy with where it lands. I'm probably going to back this one myself because it's definitely in the zone of the types of things that I look to play with when I go to game night and bring different things for people to try. So excited for you guys. I want to wish you all the best in this coming year, and you take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.